What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got for you two crazy relationship stories. The first one is just bemusing. It will make you question how this person can, on the one hand, seem so normal, but in reality, be so dark and twisted. Without further ado, let's get into this one. Make sure to drop a like on this episode if you're going to enjoy it, and subscribe to my channel if you are new for more stories just like this. Here we go. My husband got fired for harassing a coworker and won't talk to me about it. I am a 36-year-old woman, and my husband, Charlie, who is a 41-year-old man, and I have been together for 10 years, married for 6. We've had our ups and downs, but we're currently in an up. He's never done anything like this in the past, so it came out of left field for me, and I'm very much shocked and at a loss here. Charlie is a computer programmer and was a senior engineer at his former company, where he'd worked for 4 years. He'd never had any trouble with co-workers, and we're both friendly with a few of them, mostly other men and their wives. On Friday of last week, he came home at around 11 AM and told me he'd been fired. He was really upset and agitated, and I didn't want to push him about it. But he told me that they'd said he was harassing a co-worker and was therefore fired. So the information I've been able to get out of him is this. The co-worker is Beth, a junior engineer who he's never mentioned to me before. He said she's, quote, terrible at her job. Beth slept with a senior engineer we're both friendly with, Darren. Darren wasn't involved in the harassment, wasn't fired, etc. The company's lawyers were there, and among the things they told him was that Beth could have pressed charges, but chose not to. Something happened with her car, but he won't say what. His exact words were, there was something with her car. And finally, he was escorted off of the premises and is not allowed back in the building to get his belongings, and instead has to arrange with security to pick them up after business hours. As far as anything else goes, he won't give me any details. He isn't interested in seeing a lawyer because he says that everything is legal. He's basically admitted to, quote, sending Beth some emails, but he won't say what they said or anything like that. I don't know if Beth sleeping with Darren had to do with it, but the fact that he gave me that detail makes me think it does. I'm not sure how that relates. Darren is a very nice single man who's in his late 20s and approximately the same age as Beth. My mind is running wild here. Charlie has been depressed and withdrawn all weekend. He won't talk to me about it, and he won't talk much in general. I work remotely, so I was home all day with him, and he played video games all day and then went to bed at 6 PM. The fact that he won't tell me anything and isn't interested in seeing a lawyer makes me think that it's bad, and it makes me worry that everything is true and not just a misunderstanding or a small thing blown out of proportion. He has never been flirtatious with other women or cruel to them, and he's also never said anything bad about other women engineers that he's worked with. I don't know what to do here. My instinct is to be supportive of my husband, but I don't know what kind of behavior I'd be supporting. I don't want to run to his co-workers we know and ask them, since they're more our friends than my friends, and while we spend time together at get-togethers or bars, I'm not close with them. In an immediate sense, I don't know what to do about helping someone who is so depressed and won't talk to me. Okay, there we go. That is it for the original post. I completely get what OP is saying. You want to back up your husband here, of course you do, but you don't know what he's done. Can you support someone when you don't know what they've done? I'm not entirely sure, even if they are your husband. If he's not giving you the details, then that's not really your fault. Anyway, let's jump into some top comments before getting into the update for this one. Somebody said, I would tell him you have to assume the worst if he won't be honest with you. I've got to say, he must have done some bad stuff to be escorted off the premises with no warning like that. Either he was hating on her and went over the top, or he tried to F her and went over the top, or he tried to F her and then hated on her. Okay, I suppose, maybe, but I'm not sure about sort of guessing what he's done either. It's one thing him not telling you, it's another thing trying to work out what he might have done. This comment continues saying, edit, I've just reread the whole thing. I'm guessing that he tried to F her, then sent crazy emails and vandalized her car. He could easily still be charged criminally and or sued. Yeah, as I said, I'm not sure about jumping to conclusions, but I get why the people of Reddit are trying to work out, or guess at what might have happened. Somebody else actually replied to this comment saying, I've worked at larger companies, and when they fire people, sometimes they are walked right out of the building. The reasoning is they don't want the fired person to make a scene and rock the boat. It's heartless in my opinion, but it does happen. Something tells me that OP's husband did something terrible because lawyers were there and apparently the girl could have pressed charges. That is very unusual. My guess is OP's husband got jealous that Darren was sleeping with Beth and not him, as he had a crush on Beth for a while, and he flipped out and went all nice guy on her. He mentioned there are emails, so there is evidence in writing as well. This does not bode well for OP. Again, I can't really argue with this comment, and this does seem pretty reasonable. I'm just not sure that I want to go there and say what might have happened. I mean, maybe I'm sort of doing a little bit of a cop out there because I know there is an update to come, but just my opinion. Anyway, one final comment said this. Seeing as it got so far that he's been fired and he doesn't want to fight it, it sounds like the allegations are probably true. The fact that he brings up Darren makes it seem like he's harassed her as a result of sexual jealousy. Does he usually shut down conversation on things? Does he usually keep things from you? I'd be very cautious about what he's hiding and what it means for you and your relationship. Even if it's not sexual and it's just plain old harassment, do you want to be with a grown man who harasses young women to the point he gets fired? It's a good point. I mean, he's 41. Beth is, in her late 20s. Yeah, you don't want to be with somebody that does this sort of thing, obviously. I mean, no matter what the age of everyone involved is. But anyway, let's, with that all being said, get straight into the update of this one, which was actually posted the next day. By the way, I'm not disagreeing with any of these comments, and what they're saying is probably accurate. Let's be honest. I just wouldn't jump to that conclusion straight away because, we're just guessing. We don't really know. But let's see what actually did happen in the update. OP says, my thread was locked before I was able to respond to any of the comments, but I was able to read them this morning. I got up at 5:30 to go to the gym before work, and my husband was still awake playing video games. I presented him with the very good idea that somebody suggested of sending me an email with the details, but that it wasn't acceptable to shut me out of this situation since it affects me too. His response was basically, the paperwork is in my car. Go get it if you want to read it. I asked him to go and get it so we could look at it together, and he said, you're going to believe what you want anyway. All of this is unusual for our marriage because I'm a pretty patient person, I think. We went out to the car together and he got in, handed me the papers, and left. Well, that is not a good sign. For about 2 hours, I was panicked because I didn't know where he went, if he was okay, if he was thinking of hurting himself. But his mum texted me at 9 saying he was over there, asking me what happened, if everything is okay, etc. His parents live about 15 minutes away, and I guess he told her he's going to be staying there. So, the paperwork. According to the paperwork, he sent Beth multiple harassing emails from anonymous email accounts. The emails are printed out and attached. He apparently did this while at work, and they've been monitoring his user account for 3 months. The emails aren't sexual or romantic in nature, and they're all anonymous, and about how she sucks at her job, wouldn't be there if she wasn't a woman, how she should quit before she gets fired, and how everyone in the office hates her. He made fake user accounts for his company's product that she works on and submitted bad reviews of her work. He also did this while logged in at work. He sent an anonymous email to her boss saying that she was sleeping with a senior engineer on another project. He put a gun catalogue on the windshield of her car. I don't know what this gesture means, but I obviously understand that it was meant to be threatening. Unfortunately, inside was a subscription card that the company auto-filled with his name and address. She also says she's been harassed for the same length of time, about 3 months, on Twitter. He only logged into one Twitter account that harassed her at work, so they can only say that one was him, all telling her to quit her job. So, I don't know what to do now. This is all terrifying to me, and I feel so bad for this woman. I have no idea what this is all about. He works with other female engineers, he's worked with male engineers who don't pull their weight, and he's never done anything like this. I would have bet $1 million that he'd never do anything like this. He's at his parents' right now, and I don't know what my next move here could possibly be. This is so scary and out of left field to me. Goodness me, there we go. that is it for the update. Let's jump into some final comments. OP's actually added a little bit more information first of all before I give my final thoughts. So OP said this in the comments down below. I forgot to mention this paperwork is copied from the original and was signed by both him and his company. I don't know if that's a full admission, but it seems damning either way. Somebody said in response to this, time to sit your husband down and give an ultimatum. He needs to give you his side of the story or you two are done. This is clearly a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on. Somebody else said, your husband needs serious therapy. What you describe is absolutely abhorrent behaviour. If he is unwilling to get help about this or do anything to convince you that he understands how wrong what he did is, you should seriously consider getting as far away from this man as you can. What he did is evil. Okay, there we go. That is it for the first story of this episode. And that's kind of the reason why I didn't really want to jump to conclusions, because yes, what we've seen there is disgusting. I'm not taking away from that fact, but there was no like sexual stuff in there, which a lot of people were saying in the comments in the original post. I mean, doesn't really change the fact that you've got to leave your husband, right? Like, what is he doing? Also, why is he doing this? This is the main thing that's just so weird. Like, what's happened here in his mind for him to do this? To be honest, it doesn't really matter, but you can't be with someone like this. If he's doing this to a younger woman, I mean, you're a younger woman than him, so who knows? He could easily at some point in your lives together act like that with you. It's too scary, right? You got to get out of there. The cyber harassment is one thing, but leaving your name and address in a gun catalog that you put on someone's car, I mean, leaving the name and address is stupid, but a gun catalog on someone's car? Now, I'm not entirely sure whether that's like him saying to her, I'm threatening you with, a gun, or perhaps he wanted that to be found by, another member of staff on her car. Depends what sort of state this is in. Like, if that happened in the UK, it feels like he might have been trying to set her up a little bit. But all the comments, and I presume all of you guys are saying that no, actually, like, that's just threatening that, he wants to shoot her or something, which is just crazy. Like, again, I know I've said this so many times on the channel, but it's so weird to me how some people can seem so normal. Like, you've been together with this guy for 10 years, married for 6, OP. Yet behind closed doors, or not even behind closed doors, at their place of work, they have so much hatred for this one woman for apparently no reason that they would threaten their life. Like, it's insane. And yeah, ultimately, you got to get out of there. Now for our second story of this episode. My ex turned up last night drunk. Tomorrow is his wedding day. Should I tell his soon-to-be wife? I was with my ex for 2 years. It wasn't the best relationship, and we broke up because I moved for uni and just didn't want to be with him anymore. It's been almost 5 years since we broke up, and I'm engaged to be married with my fiance, who is absolutely my soulmate. Yesterday evening at around 10 o'clock, he rang our doorbell drunk. His bachelor party was in the city I live in, and he came to see me. When my fiance opened the door, my ex just started sobbing, saying that he couldn't believe he, my fiance, was real or something like that. We took him into the apartment because he didn't look dangerous. He just vocally vomited before he actually vomited in our bath. What I could gather is that he was still very hurt because of our breakup, that he thinks that we could have made it work, and he regrets treating me badly. He then threw up again and called an Uber to his hotel. It was very surreal. He was fine. We fed him waffles to sober him up and told him to write to us when he was in his hotel to make sure he didn't die or something. I was left with a weird feeling, almost dirty. I'm thinking of contacting his soon-to-be wife. Or should I call him to encourage him to tell that to his fiancée? Or should I not do anything and let this just be an anecdote for my future? Wow. Very, very interesting. I don't know about this one. I really don't. I personally think you have to tell her. You have to tell her. Because if you don't, then you know that he's going into this relationship, into this wedding, into this marriage, not fully in it, right? Like, he's still got regrets. Do you want to be married to somebody that has regrets over their past and that is still, like, as soon as they have a bit of alcohol, thinking about their ex? No. So I think you owe it to her to tell her. I know it's not your place, but also, like, put yourself in her shoes. Anyway, let's see what the people of Reddit had to say about this. Somebody said, wow, interesting. They said exactly the same thing I've just said. Put yourself in his wife's shoes. Would you want to sign your life away to this person? OP replied, I guess I'd want to know, but I would also prefer my partner to tell me that. Yeah, I agree. It isn't your place to tell her, and I agree exactly with your logic there. Tell him to tell her. But I would also say, like, look, if you don't tell her, then I'm going to, because she has to know. Somebody else said, well, would he tell her though? Like, why would he tell her? By telling her yourself, you risk not being believed or coming across as petty, but at least you know somebody tried to warn her. Now, OP left a little edit and a couple of updates below this. First of all, she said, thanks for all the feedback. It seems like Reddit is as split on this as I am. Just because this kept coming up, my main goal with telling her is not for them to break up. I don't want that. That's not why I would want to tell her. The reason for me telling her is solely that I would want to know if I was her. Nothing else. It's also not me bragging about him not being over me. That's not something I care about. And I wonder how some of you twisted it into that. Also, a tiny update. I decided that contacting the bride was the wrong move because we are not friends. However, I sent his sister, an old friend of mine, a message basically saying to talk to her brother because he appeared at my door drunk and distressed and to make sure he was okay. She thanked me for the message and apologized profusely because my ex had been apparently acting a fool for a few weeks now leading up to his wedding. She asked me if I was okay and if her brother had gone back to the hotel room because they couldn't find him. I told her he'd Ubered home and had written to us that he had arrived in his room at around 11:30 p.m. She thanked me again and I haven't heard from her since. Oh, and another update. His sister called me again to ask me if he'd come by or said anything about his whereabouts. Apparently, he didn't show for the wedding. Oh my goodness. Apparently, he didn't show for the wedding and nobody knows where he is. So, me telling the fiance is now obsolete. Goodness me. Okay, so that update came, I presume, the next day on the wedding day. I forget that this is all happening very, very quickly and the night before the wedding. Jesus. Alright, somebody said in the comments down below, you and your fiance handled every bit of this as graciously as anyone could expect. Contacting his sister was the best move you could have made. Somebody said, oh dang, he ran out on the wedding. That girl dodged a major bullet. And finally someone said, holy heck, the edits. I hope he's okay. Please update us if they find him. I mean, yeah, that is true. Like, it's not just that he ran out on the wedding. Nobody's actually seen him, I suppose, since he left your house, OP. So, yeah, I hope he's all right. To be honest, it does sound, I know this is obviously like a crazy event and very, very distressing for the wife-to-be, but I think in the long term, it's probably a good thing these guys didn't get married. Anyway, 10 days later, we got this final update. Long story short, he bailed. He decided he did not want to commit to his fiancée. Bailed, and days later called to break off the engagement. A few more details. After his sister and I talked, my ex's fiancé reached out and was kind of mad. The best man had told her he went to see me. At first, she was convinced we had sex, so that took a bit of talking. I felt sorry. She was very distraught. She apologized, I apologized, and I told her I wished her the best. Saturday, I received a call from the sister. Apparently, the ex reappeared. He went all the way to France. I'm not actually sure where this is happening. I think it might be in England because of the word uni earlier, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, France, overseas, and this definitely doesn't take place in France, does it? His sister called me to apologize because my ex had stolen one of my lipsticks. I honestly hadn't noticed, but my ex admitted it to her. She PayPal'd me the money to buy myself a new one. I said I wasn't mad, and I asked her how she was and how his ex-fiance was. On their end, everything is a mess. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Everyone is mad at him. I don't know many more details, and I kind of wasn't willing to ask, but yeah, that's it. Okay, and there we go. One final comment. He stole a lipstick? A lipstick? What? Who does that? It's so bizarre, it's funny. Stealing a lipstick of all things, and then his sister PayPaling you for it? Thank you for the laugh. OP replied saying, our guess is that he just grabbed the first thing he knew was mine that was small enough to fit in his pocket. And there we go. Okay, not quite sure how to react to that one. Slightly strange story all in. This guy, I think, just was battered and clearly had realized over the previous weeks that he did not want to do this. And he was probably too much of a coward to admit it to his fiance and had to do this instead and just, yeah, get out of there. Which is a terrible, terrible thing to do. I mean, if you're going to do something like this that close to a wedding, at least have the decency to actually explain to people that you're not feeling it. If you're not feeling it, yeah, it's pretty poor to do it that late, and I assume that everyone involved is going to lose quite a lot of money on the wedding, but it's at least better than just running away and then just, you know, on the day, the bride-to-be just being like, well, where's my fiance? Where's my husband? And just, you know, obviously being devastated. But yeah, there you go. As for stealing the lipstick, I don't know. This guy he's just gone crazy. He's just panicked, hasn't he? That's the thing. He's just panicked, and yeah, he needs some help, but he's also a complete jerk. Just looking through the comments and OP's account, I think the OP lives in Germany, or at least is German. So safe to assume that this wedding was taking place in Germany, and that, yeah, her ex just fled across the border into France. It's not really that funny, but it kind of is. Like, I can just imagine this guy just being like so stressed and panicked and being like, you know what, I can't even just not go to my wedding. I've got to leave the country. What an idiot. What an absolute idiot. And like, just why is he stolen lipstick? Again, like, as I said earlier, I feel like this is a good man to dodge from I hope now his ex. But doing it in this way, absolutely shocking. But there we go. That is going to do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below. What do you think about both of these stories? I mean, the first one was a bit more normal. Yeah, it was crazy, but a bit more what we used to on this subreddit in terms of relationship stories. The second one, just mental. I want to hear your thoughts on the second one in particular. There we go. Crazy stuff. Watch some more right away if you want to. Subscribe down here if you're new to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.